Hello and welcome to RC and thanks for stopping by. As I unboxed the Megalodon in one of my former videos, I said I want to go with this car in a different way. This is my first monster truck and I like to share my experiences of learning how to drive it with you. So welcome to the RC Monster Truck Stunt Driving School, or RC SDS. Oh, sounds cumbersome. If you have a better abbreviation, please let me know in the comments. This episode is about the theory and my thoughts before training the stunts. I know it might be boring, but you have to know the car before you go training. So let's dive into the things that are crucial for the later runs. I also have to admit that this driving school is not about racing. It might be mentioned sometimes, but my focus is on the stunts and freestyle driving. So right from the start, let me say the one and only rule for the driving is manage the momentum. It doesn't matter if you do wheelies, backflips, the bicycle, the moonwalk or any figure. You need the momentum to get there. At the same time, you also want to stay in that figure you started. Managing the momentum is the art and has to be practiced. Please keep this always in mind. The next rule is know your car. I start the theory with an overlook of the monster truck to get an overview about what it can do and what its specs are. My car is a Losi Mini LMT in a scale of 1/18. It has a 4-wheel drive and, despite the originals, only steering at the front axle. It's fitted with oil-filled shocks and the front springs are softer than the rear ones. The preload on the shocks can be adjusted. There are also sway bars on both axles. As an improvement towards the first two Mini LMTs, Grave Digger and Son of a Digger, the suspension links and drive shafts are reinforced on the Megalodon. The chassis is made out of two powder-coated metal rails, on which everything is mounted. Fired is a truck with a 25T 380 brushed motor, controlled by a Spectrum Receiver ESC combo. The set comes along with a 2S 7.4V 810 mAh battery with a C rate of 50. This should be enough information for the setup. I didn't change or upgrade anything and work with the bone stock monster truck. Now let's have a closer look on some of the components and how they might affect the stunts we want to do. The ESC. Here's one big point to mention, which are the jumpers on it. The lower one defines the battery you can use. It's set on LiPo. You can also put it on a NIM. In my mind, I wouldn't change this. First, it's hard to find a fitting NIM battery for the compartment, and on the other hand, the LiPo mode protects the battery because of a higher cutoff point. The upper jumper defines the driving mode. Out of the box, it's set on forward, brake, reverse. This is great for racing. There you might like to have a smoother control about the car on turns and corners. But as I said before, we are here for the stunts. For the stunts, you want to have more control about the motor output. So switch the jumper into forward-reverse mode. This gives you the advantage that you can go from forward straight right into reverse without braking. But also keep in mind the car rolls as soon as you idle and physics take over the car on neutral. Or as conclusion, no drag brake. Sounds first a little weird. You change the driving mode to get more control about the motor and the car, but neutral doesn't equal stopping or holding. But this is also good. Remember the rule I told you, manage the momentum. No matter which figure you want to do, it might happen that you go into neutral and want the wheels to spin freely at the same time. We get to that point later in the following videos. It's easier to show while doing the stunt figures. So my recommendation for doing stunts is set the jumpers on LiPo and no active or passive brake. For the motor, let me keep it short. It can be changed. But the Mini LMT is well designed and the 380 does a great job. For my purposes, it's perfect. The next thing on my list are the gears. This is not about the gear ratio or speed versus torque. It's more about the pros and cons about the stock installed technology. This monster truck has neither a middle differential nor a slipper. It has a rubber clutch. The system is like a bumper to cushion differences in the forces or torque between the motor and the wheels, and also protects the gears. This is a great construction, and as long as we want to do stunts, this is a perfect solution. I know many bashers work with middle differentials, but just from the physics, I'm not a big fan of these. Let me explain. Everything in nature follows the path of the lowest resistance: fire, water, electricity, pressure, and so on. In conclusion, this means for a middle differential, as soon as one axle loses the contact to the ground, the force of the motor would go right into that lifted axle. You get spinning wheels and not any movement from the axle which is still on the ground. In bashing, this is compensated with diff oil slowing this effect. For what I'm planning with this monster truck, it's better for me not to have a central differential. And this brings me to the next point about the differentials and the axles. Okay, they enable smooth turns, that's fine, especially for a car with a compact wheelbase, like the Mini LMT. In the end, you have more control about the car. But let's say you want to do the bicycle stunt, which is running on two wheels on one side of the car. Remember the resistance thing? Following my theory, now the wheels in the air get all the power from the motor and the bicycle is over. Locked diffs, like on Cross, might be a solution for this issue, but we don't have this in the Megalodon. To solve this, there are two methods for the bicycle. First, speed up, use a ramp and let the car roll on two wheels with the momentum. Second, drive a turn and let the inner wheels lift into the air. Then try to roll the car on two wheels as long as possible. Both methods work best on a hard surface like tarmac or concrete, or any surface with a low roll resistance. As soon as the car is in the air on one side, you have only the momentum, but no more propulsion from the motor. We get to this stunt in one of the later videos. It's one of the stunts I'll have to practice a lot. For sure, you can also lock the diffs, but to get only one stunt perfect and at the same time affecting others like donuts, cyclone, moonwalk, where for sure you need the differentials, is a little bit overkill in my mind. So now let's look on the wheels. The tires are glued on both sides of the rims. They have foam inside. This softens landings and keeps the balloon tires at any time in good shape. But the term balloon isn't correct here. The rims are designed like the ones you find on RC short-course trucks. Outside balloon, inside low profile. This is not made for performance reasons. The steering knuckles or uprights just have to fit inside the rims. This doesn't count for the rear axle without steering, but it's easier to produce one sort of rim for every position of the car. In the end, this also has a little side effect. You get the best of both worlds. The cushioning balloon wall at the outside and the stabilization at the inside of the tire. The chevron tire tread is just for scale reasons. If you want to have more grip on hard surfaces, you might change the tires into slicks. But this doesn't count for me either. I go with the chevrons. Next task. For the Servo Saver, I have to say it looks like a high torque one. No matter how I rattle on the wheels, I see no slop in the Saver, and the servo just reacts to my input. I don't want to disassemble mine, nor there is an exploded sketch in the manual. Losi defines it as one piece. But you can let me know in the comments if you ever opened one of these. The conclusion I take over to my driving school is that the steering movement is taken to the wheels very straight, like on a crawler. But there is also protection built in for cushioning hard hits coming from the wheels. Let's have a look on the center of gravity, or COG. The Megalodon is very good balanced. I know the receiver ESC combo and the battery sit very high, and the motor is mounted in the middle of the car. But this is just the way you want it, and Losi designed this great for the monster trucks. Had any one of you pole gymnastics in school? My teacher once said, wind the center of gravity around the pole. Physical nonsense, but that's just the point. If you want to do front or back flips with a monster truck, the center of gravity has to be in the center of the car. And everything else which is built around it should be balanced and weighted. For example, the wheels are lower than the motor, so the electronics, the combo and the battery has to be above. The electronics and the steering mechanism are in the front of the motor, so the battery gets behind it. Compared to the diggers, the roll cage and body of the Megalodon are very small. The weight difference is compensated by using a hard body instead of a Lexan one. The motor is the compactest mass in the car and defines the center of gravity. Beside racing, one of the purposes of a monster truck is to somersault through the arena. Jumps are neutral. With enough speed, you can jump almost every car. Here the Losi design helps to stay leveled in the air and to land safe on the wheels. I have to admit, for sharp turns, donuts or hurricanes, the high COG is a little bit con. But as I said before, more details in the following videos. Some words about the suspension. Each axle is mounted on 4 links. Not an unusual configuration for a fixed axle design. On this truck, the lower arms hold the axles from underneath. With the upper arms, the axle is surrounded by the suspension. This configuration is very stable and gives a lot of control over the car. The body cannot go in a different way than the wheels, but it reduces the flex or roll at the same time. This effect is additionally limited by the sway bars. The only con I find is that the axles move a little bit horizontal to the sides. The eyeballs at the end of the suspension arms at the axles are responsible for this, and I hope this has no effect on the stunt driving. For racing, I'm not sure. The shocks have only one job: to absorb the incoming hits from the wheels. and this explains the softer springs on the front shocks. The servo adds more weight to the front axle and the shocks have to work more than the rear ones. Even here the weight distribution and the center of gravity I mentioned before continues. The last point on my list is the throttle dual rate. You can adjust it at 50, 75 or 100%. 50 is more kind of a cruising mode. You can do wheelies, but it needs a lot of practice. To train monster truck stunts, I would recommend 75%, even if you are a weathered modeler. Imagine it as if the car is working in slow-mo. You see better how the car reacts on your inputs and things can be corrected right in the run or training. 100% dual rate is pure fun. The car does everything, even overshooting stunts and giving you a lot of walk of shames. Healthy for your cardio. For sure, you can try it. It's your car and your fun. But I like to train monster truck stunts, so we start in 75% dual rate. Later, after lots of repetitions and getting used to the monster truck, for sure doing a complete stunt session in 100% will blow your mind away. So what is the resume of the theory lesson? What we have here is a well-designed monster truck, which helps a lot by its design to get quick success with stunts right from the start. This counts for me too. I hadn't done a moonwalk before, but was in command after 2 minutes. So, thank you Losi for this well-designed monster truck. The Mini LMT is not a one-trick pony. It's more kind of the egg laying will make so, like we say here. Some stunts might be easy, some might need more practice. But that's what we're here for. In one of my next videos of my stunt driving school, I would do 2 or 4 stunts in each video, depending on the expense of each. I cannot say how many episodes I'll do, but I hope I can do this on an interesting way for you and share my experiences and fun with the Megalodon. So if you stayed with me until here and took brave all this dry stuff, I thank you for watching. If you got some questions, the comment section is yours. And as always, please like, share and subscribe. This really helped me out. See you soon on RC Birds.
I see birds flying high, cars are roaring, engines cry. From cold slow to speed runs fast, moments building, memories last.